The account of King Wonderful Adornment's past lives. Chapter 27.
Chapter 27 tells the story of King Wonderful Adornment and his past lives, as well as the past lives of his wife and 2 sons. In a past life, King Wonderful Adornment had been a bhikṣu cultivating together with 3 other bhikṣus. When the 4 of them failed to receive sufficient offerings, King Wonderful Adornment vowed to serve as Dharma protector for the other 3. He therefore returned to lay life and worked to provide his fellow cultivators with their daily necessities. As this Dharma protector often worked close to the palace, one day he saw the king in all his grandeur and thought it might be nice to be a king himself. As a result of this thought and the merit he had accumulated as a Dharma protector, he planted the seed of future rebirth as King Wonderful Adornment. However, although the Dharma protector was reborn as a king, he lost sight of the Buddhadharma and instead turned to Brahmanism. Meanwhile, his fellow cultivators who had continued to practice realized various stages of spiritual attainment. Then, seeing that their friend had lost his way, they decided to repay his former kindness by taking rebirth as his wife and sons so that they could help him to awaken. The chapter describes how the queen and the 2 princes encourage and guide King Wonderful Adornment to recall his past resolve and to cultivate by means of the Dharma Flower Sūtra. In the end, the king receives a prediction of future Buddhahood from the Buddha of that time. It is then revealed by Shakyamuni Buddha that the king and his family are 4 bodhisattvas present in the Lotus assembly.
At that time, the Buddha said to the great assembly, "Long ago, in the distant past, countless, limitless, inconceivable as samkhyas of eons ago, there was a Buddha known as Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom, Tathagata Arhat Samyak Sambuddha. The name of his land was Brilliant Adornment, and the name of his eon was Delight to Behold. When that Buddha's Dharma was present in the world, there was a king named as Wonderful Adornment. His queen was named Pure Virtue. They had 2 sons, the first named Pure Treasury, and the second named Pure Eye. These 2 sons had great spiritual powers, blessings, virtues, and wisdom. They had long cultivated the path practiced by the bodhisattvas. Dana Paramita, Shila Paramita, Shanti Paramita, Virya Paramita, Dhyana Paramita, Prajna Paramita, and Upaya Paramita. Kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, as well as the 37 aids to the path. They had understood and mastered all of these. They had also attained the Bodhisattva's pure samadhi, the samadhi of sun and constellations, the samadhi of pure light, the samadhi of pure form, the samadhi of pure illumination, the samadhi of everlasting adornment, and the samadhi of the treasury of great, magnificent virtue. They had mastered all of these samadhis. At that time, the Buddha, wishing to guide King Wonderful Adornment, and also because of his compassion toward living beings, taught the Dharma Flower Sūtra. The 2 sons, Pure Treasury and Pure Eye, went before their mother, placed their palms together, and said, "We entreat you, Mother, to present yourself to Buddha Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom. We shall wait upon you, and accompany you as you draw near to, make offerings to, and bow in respect to him. Why? This Buddha is teaching the Dharma Flower Sutra amid the multitude of gods and humans. We should listen to this sutra and uphold it. Their mother said to her sons, "Your father believes in a non-Buddhist religion. He is deeply attached to the teachings of Brahmanas. You should persuade your father to come with us." With their palms joined, Pure Treasury and Pure Eye said to their mother, "We are Dharma princes, yet we have been born into this house of wrong views." Their mother replied, "You should be concerned for your father and display spiritual transformations for his sake. If he sees them, his mind will be purified, and he may allow us to go before the Buddha." Then, out of concern for their father, the two sons rose into space to the height of 7 tala trees and displayed various spiritual transformations. They walked, stood, sat, and reclined in space. They produced water from the upper part of their bodies and fire from the lower. They produced water from the lower part of their bodies and fire from the upper. They showed themselves in huge bodies, filling up all of space, then showed themselves in bodies that were small. From small, they again made themselves large. They disappeared in space and suddenly reappeared on earth. They sank into the ground as if it were water and walked on water as if it were land. Exhibiting various kinds of spiritual transformations such as these, they caused their father's mind to be purified and filled with faith and understanding. Seeing his son's spiritual powers, the father experienced great joy as never before. Placing his palms together, he said to his sons, "Who is your teacher? Whose disciples are you?" The two sons replied, "Your Majesty, the Buddha Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom now sits on the Dharma seat beneath the Bodhi tree of 7 treasures. Amid the multitude of gods and humans, he is now expounding the Dharma Flower Sutra at great length. He is our teacher. We are his disciples." The father said to his sons, "I wish to meet your teacher. Let us go together." The two sons then descended from space, went to their mother, and with their palms joined, said, "Our father, the king, now understands with faith. He is ready to resolve on Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. For our father's sake, we have done the Buddha's work. We entreat you, mother, to allow us to renounce the home life and cultivate the path as disciples of that Buddha." At that time, the two sons, wishing to restate their meaning, spoke to their mother in verse. "We entreat you, mother, to let us go, to leave the home life and become shramanas. Buddhas are extremely difficult to meet. We wish to follow and learn from this Buddha, as rare as it is to see an udambara blossom. It is even harder to encounter a Buddha. It is equally difficult to escape life's hardships. So please, let us leave the home life." Their mother then said, "I permit you to leave the home life. Why? It is difficult to meet a Buddha." The two sons then said to their parents, "Wonderful! Father and mother, please go at once to Buddha Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom, draw near to him, and make offerings to him. Why? Buddhas are as rare as the udambara flower, as difficult to encounter as it is for a one-eyed turtle to come upon a floating log with a hole in it. We must have accrued substantial blessings in our previous lives, for we have now been born in the time of the Buddhadharma. Therefore, father and mother, we entreat you to allow us to renounce the home life. Why? It is difficult to meet a Buddha. Such an opportune time is hard to come by. At that time, 84,000 women in the imperial harem of King Wonderful Adornment all became capable of upholding the Dharma Flower Sutra. Bodhisattva Pure Eye had long since mastered the samadhi of the Dharma flower, while countless billions of kotis of eons in the past, Bodhisattva Pure Treasury had mastered the samadhi of separation from all lower destinies, because he wished to lead all living beings to escape from the lower destinies. And the king's wife had attained the samadhi of assembling all Buddhas and was able to know the secret treasury of the Buddhas. The two sons, exerting the power of such expedients, skillfully taught their father, leading him to understand with faith and to delight in the Buddhadharma. Thereupon, King Wonderful Adornment, together with his multitude of ministers and their retinue, Queen Pure Virtue, together with other court ladies and her retinue of the imperial harem, and the king's two sons, together with 42,000 people, all went before the Buddha. Upon their arrival, they bowed with their heads at the Buddha's feet, circumambulated him 3 times, and withdrew to one side. That Buddha then explained the Dharma for the king, guiding and teaching him and bringing him benefit and joy. The king was elated. Then King Wonderful Adornment and his wife unfastened their pearl necklaces, valued in the hundreds of thousands of ounces of gold, and strew them upon the Buddha. The necklaces transformed into a jeweled terrace with 4 pillars suspended in space. On the terrace was a large jeweled couch spread with billions of heavenly garments. Upon the couch was a Buddha seated in full lotus, emitting brilliant light. Then King Wonderful Adornment thought, "The Buddha's body is rare, upright, splendid, distinguished, and of utmost subtlety and wonder." Then Buddha Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom said to the fourfold assembly, "Do you see King Wonderful Adornment, who stands before me with his palms joined? This king shall become a bhikṣu, following my Dharma. Diligent in his practice and study, he shall devote himself to disseminating the Buddha's path and Dharma. He shall become a Buddha known as Shala Tree King. The name of his land will be Great Brilliance, and the name of his eon will be Great Arising King. Buddha Shala Tree King will have a multitude of countless bodhisattvas and countless shravakas. His land will be flat and even. Such will be his meritorious attainment." The king thereupon conferred his country upon his younger brother, and, together with his wife, his 2 sons, and his retinue, renounced the home life to practice the Buddhadharma. After leaving the home life, the king was constantly diligent and vigorous in his practice of the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra for 84,000 years. Afterward, he attained the samadhi of adornment with all pure merit. Immediately, he rose up into space to the height of 7 tala trees and addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, my 2 sons have already done the Buddha's work. By using their spiritual powers to turn me away from wrong ideas, they led me to establish myself firmly in the Buddhadharma and to meet the world-honored one. These 2 sons are my spiritual teachers. Wishing to awaken me in the good roots planted in previous lives and thereby benefit me, they were born into my household." At that time, Buddha Cloud Thunderclap Constellation King Flower Wisdom said to King Wonderful Adornment, "So it is, so it is. It is just as you say. If good men or good women have planted good roots, then in life after life, they will gain good spiritual teachers. Their spiritual teachers will carry out the Buddha's work, guiding and teaching living beings and bringing them benefit and joy as they lead them to realize Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Great King, you should know that a good spiritual teacher is encountered only when there is great affinity. Such a teacher instructs and guides beings so that they may meet the Buddhas and make a resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Great King, do you see these two suns? In the past, these two suns made offerings to Buddhas equal in number to the grains of sand in 65 billion kotis of nayutas of Ganges rivers, drawing near to them in reverence. In the presence of those Buddhas, they upheld the Dharma Flower Sūtra. Out of compassion for living beings with wrong views, they led them to adopt right views. King Wonderful Adornment then descended from space and said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, the Tathagata is extremely rare. By virtue of his merit and wisdom, the Ushnisha on the top of his head dazzles. His eyes are long and broad, violet in color. The white curl of hair between his eyebrows is as white as a glistening moon. His teeth, white and even, are always shining. His lips are a fine red color like the bimba fruit." Having thus praised the Buddha for his countless billions of kotis of merits, King Wonderful Adornment, in the presence of the Tathagata, single-mindedly placed his palms together and once again addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, there has never been such a thing before. The Tathagata's Dharma is replete with the perfect realization of inconceivably subtle and wonderful merit. His teachings on the practice of morality show the way to peace, joy, and goodness. From this day forward, I shall never again follow the course of my own mind. I shall never again give rise to wrong views, pride, anger, or any other unwholesome thoughts." Having said this, he bowed to the Buddha and took his leave. The Buddha said to the great assembly, "What do you think? Could King Wonderful Adornment have been anyone else? He is the present Bodhisattva Lotus virtue. His wife, Queen Pure Virtue, was Bodhisattva Ornament of Shining Splendor, who is now in the Buddha's presence and who, out of compassion for King Wonderful Adornment and his retinue, was born among them. His two sons are the present Bodhisattva Medicine King and Bodhisattva Medicine Superior. Bodhisattvas Medicine King and Medicine Superior have realized such great merit. In the presence of countless billions of kotis of Buddhas, they have already planted a multitude of roots of virtue and perfected inconceivable wholesome merit. If a person knows the names of these two bodhisattvas, all the gods and humans in the world should make obeisance to that person." When the Buddha taught this chapter, the account of King Wonderful Adornment's past lives, 84,000 people transcended worldly defilement and attained the clarity of the Dharma eye with respect to all phenomena.